Hello everyone. This time around, I'm going to let you know that this segment is only going to talk about 2016 and the majority of 2017. 2016 was really good for the most part. I started getting worse Crohn symptoms, so I made an appointment, switched my GI doctor, started going to see him. They decided to put me on some intravenous medication. I had already been on Humira before. It didn't quite work for me. So this time around we tried Remicade. I was really good on Remicade in the beginning, and then all of a sudden I started having worse symptoms. So they bumped me up. Within 2 weeks of them bumping my medication up, I started getting hives. That was the start of everything for me. It got really bad, went to the ER a couple of times, ended up really itchy. Needless to say, we stopped Remicade, and then I went to Entyvio, which is another IV medication. The symptoms I was having were Crohn's related symptoms, or so I thought. A lot of abdominal pain, a lot of diarrhea, a lot of blood, a whole bunch of stuff that, it just started becoming more regular as far as happening more frequently during the week. That's when I started becoming more concerned. When the majority of your week is dealing with Crohn's pain, Crohn's symptoms, bathroom trips, that's when I get worried. So, needless to say, I went to this doctor. He was at a blank as far as what was next, so he decided to send me to U of M. Before I could get in at U of M to see their GI team, I ended up having really, really, really bad pain. So Katie and my mom decided to take me to the ER there. We went there, they admitted me, and I was on a couple of days of bowel rest in hopes that the symptoms or the pain and all of that would subside. While I was there, they decided to consult a surgical doctor. They did that. Come to find out, what was going on was I had narrowing of my intestine where my first surgery was. So basically everything that I was eating was having a hard time passing through my intestine, so I needed to have surgery. I ended up having surgery because I was on previous high dosages of steroids. They marked me for an ileostomy bag. I ended up waking up with an ileostomy bag and a bowel resection wound, or scar at that time. I guess it wasn't really a scar yet, but come to find out, my body doesn't like ileostomies. So I struggled with my ileostomy. I ended up that time around being in the hospital for almost a month. It was mostly trying to figure out how to handle my ileostomy. There was complications with my ileostomy. I had a wound under it, so he had to set the bag so it went in both spots. It was just a long, drawn-out thing. But I did it. I had an ileostomy. Katie and I were getting really good at changing it. It was functional for a while, minus the setbacks here and there that we had. I ended up going back in for an ileostomy reversal. And that was so my first surgery was in December. The second one was in March, so that was my reversal. It didn't go so well. I ended up having to get, basically they didn't close me. So I had 2 wounds from my ileostomy and from the big surgery. So I ended up with, the apparatuses, like the wound vacs is what they call them, just to help healing. With my Crohn's and being severely anemic, I don't heal well anyways. So that was a long process. I then started having fluid come out of the old ileostomy site, and we were really concerned, so we ended up going to the doctor. The doctor found that there was a fistula that had formed, which is an abnormal connection. So basically, I didn't have an ileostomy anymore, but the connection was still there. so I was still getting stuff out of it that I shouldn't have been. So they decided to go the route of doing TPN, which is basically bag feeding. So I didn't eat anything, drink anything, and I was just getting fed through a PICC line bag fluid that Katie did at nighttime. So I was hooked up for 12 hours every night. That was awful, but I survived it. Katie rocked it out each time. My PICC line dressings were awful. I had a nurse come and do those. So I survived that. However, it didn't close the connection. So in September, I had to go and get a bowel resection where they basically cut out the abnormal connection, closed it up. They also did a hernia repair during that time, and then basically left me open to close by itself. So I came out, was in the hospital for a little bit longer, ended up with wound vacs that time around. The ileostomy site ended up closing after the wound vac. The middle site did not, so I still struggle with that. On and off, I've been back to the wound center trying to get that to heal. So far, so good. Hopefully that continues. That leads me up to the point where new symptoms arise, and that would be December. I'll end this video. The next video I'll talk about all of my new symptoms that have just come out of the middle of nowhere. I don't know what's going on this time around. They're involving new doctors and new things that I have no familiarity with. But as far as my Crohn's symptoms go, I am supposedly in remission. I still have a lot of bathroom trips, but they think it has something to do with the part of my intestine that they have taken out, and I'm not, everything's not functioning and flowing the way that it should. I'm not getting the correct things out of it that I need, so I'm still trying to get that all down to, actually functional, but I'm trying. I also haven't had the same abdominal pain that I had with my Crohn's. It's mostly bathroom trips. Sometimes I'll get upset stomach. This time around I'm getting a lot more gas, which I never got before, which is super strange. So if you ever have a whole bunch of gas, I feel for you because now I experience it, and I always thought people were nuts. So you are not nuts. It's a real thing, and it's super painful at times, which I'm learning. But they also think that has something to do with the part of my intestine that they took out. So I've asked questions about that. We'll see if that improves with time. Hopefully it will. But other than that, that leads me up to the time where new symptoms started.